of covetousness. For one's life does not consist in the abundance of the things he possesses. Now, what should we take from that? One's life does not consist of the abundance of things he possesses. Now, that's kind of mild, but if we go down a little further, and I'm just touching because I want to discuss the three questions at the back of the lesson. That's what I really want to get to. But it says, covetousness has been defined as an inordinate desire for wealth or possessions that really don't belong to you. Discuss that. An inordinate desire for wealth.
What does that mean?
But the last part of, oh, I'm sorry, my brother, go right ahead.
What does that mean?
That's what I'm asking. Exactly what I want us to discuss that. An inordinate desire for wealth. So if you put it, let me ask the question differently. If you desire wealth, are you covetous? You may, or you may not. What's the differentiation?
Okay,
You know, in the lesson, they have, in the first page there, they have a big house and a Lamborghini on the lesson cover, in the lesson page there. It's a huge house and a Lamborghini and a guy kind of like looking at it, you know. Now, if you want a huge house and a Lamborghini, are you covetous?
no, I don't believe that.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I think from what you're describing and what we're reading here,
No,
I don't
no,
think
I'm sorry, but
You can't hear. You have to really talk up.
speak up because I have a hearing challenge.
I'm sorry. Okay, so from what you just read and what I'm hearing, I don't think that that's covetous, but I think like if I moved next door to that guy, and I had a greed or a desire to take his things or to feel like I need to have what he have, I think that could be covetous.
That word greed, that's an integral ingredient of covetousness. Greed. You know, when you want, I remember the last part of that sentence. What did the last part of that sentence say? It said that really does not belong to you. Wealth or possessions that really don't belong to you.
Pastor, I have a point though.
Sure.
There is some correlation between covetousness and wealth. But someone can also covet a skill that you has that has nothing to do with money. So it's even more than just wealth. It could be your special talent, the gift you have of being a good preacher, of being able to run faster than someone else if you're a child. So it's not only on wealth. People can feel that they want something that you have. It doesn't have to deal with something that money can buy. It can also be non-financial.
Okay. Now we're going to go into you're kind of moving into the sections where I want to go. However, we were dealing with wealth here as the sentence said. Very quickly, I just want to touch on the 3 points that the lesson brought on and then go to the questions in the back, because that's where I want us to dwell today. Spoke about the original sin, which was in heaven with Lucifer, trying to want to be like God, right? And it spoke about Achan, okay? Taking the things that he was a thief, because he was told specifically, don't do that, don't take this stuff, but he took it, all right? And maybe had excuses for that. And then we spoke about Lucifer, I'm sorry, not Lucifer, about Judas, right? Who, we all know the story, so we don't necessarily have to go over the story with Judas. And he died as a result of his covetousness. And then we have Ananias and Sapphira, who,
Liars, yeah.
in their case, they brought their gift to God thinking that they were doing something good, but then they lied to God. All right? And that was because of their covetousness. Okay? My sister, you had a question.
I have to say that God have mercy with Ananias and Sapphira, because we have so many of us in the church when it comes to returning our faithful tithe and offering. I think we cannot
Okay.
do some better trade with God, and I think that's not, reflective. We might look at the story there, but it's really on us too.
I thought I turned this thing off. And I did. So why is it making noise?
Your wife is looking.
It is off and still ringing? How does that happen?
It can be off and
Totally off and it's still ringing. I don't understand. Okay, so with those three examples, I want to put us in a scenario, and then I'm going to go to the back. You're in the store. You have something simple, 6 loaves of bread. All right? The cashier does boom, boom, 3, 4, 5. Good. Brings up 5 of them and tells you, okay, you got to pay $12.95 for your bread. You know they didn't ring up the 6th loaf. But you tell the cashier you forgot the 6 loaves. She said, no, I got it all. And what will you do?
say it again.
No, you have 6 loaves of bread. The cashier rang up 5, forgot the 6th, or missed the 6th, and you tried to maybe be a good person, and you point out to the cashier said, no, I got it. So what do? Do you just say, okay, and walk out with the 6 loaves of bread?
I think you have to
And the
do,
cashier told you she got it.
you have to do the right thing and say, let's look at the receipt, just to make sure that you actually rang the 12th one. And if they insist you go, you
Could you
can
speak
go
up
to
a
the.
little bit?
I'm saying if that person, the cashier says that I did, and you say, please let's check on the receipt, and I know that they are sensitive to the time, you can get your bread and go to the customer service and say, I would like to have this checked out because I think I
Okay,
didn't
that's
pay
what
for it."
you would do. What about the person who just says thank you and walks out? Is the person wrong?
No, you have those kind of people. Quick, I had a situation where someone was in front of me. They were getting their groceries and they didn't have enough money for the eggs and something else. I think it was some bacon. And so then, so by the time he ran his card, he said to the cashier, he said, well, man, go ahead, just give me that, because if I was in Chicago, they'd just give that to me. And she said, no. She said, if I do that, then I have a pink slip, and I have to take care of my children. I'm not about to give you no extra food. And so he's like, man, y'all don't even look out for us. So this is what they are used to doing, and it's okay. It's okay to have that spirit, but there you go. People are comfortable with that. But if I can just go back, to what you were talking about with covetousness, I don't think that you can have covetousness without jealousy and envy attached to it,
Okay.
right? Because jealousy is, I think jealousy is wanting something that someone has, but envy is desiring it, and they take what you have. It's not that they just jealous of what you have, but envy comes when they take what you have, and I think that we need to talk about that too with covetousness. If you can just highlight on that.
Okay. Now, covetousness has different ingredients. Selfishness, greed, they're all a part of covetousness. Now, this question at the back here, and we're going to discuss this. The first one comes out of 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 6 to 10. And listen to what Paul says in 1 Timothy chapter 6, verses 6 through 10. Now, godliness with contentment is great gain. I thought about that. Now, if I'm godly and I have no shoes, should I be content having no shoes?
Content about what? You can be content even if you don't have shoes, but let it not look like you're happy that you don't have shoes. You don't have shoes, but you're content because it's what you have. I don't have shoes, and
Okay, should I desire to have shoes?
you should, yes.
Would that make me ungodly?
No.
No.
But godliness with, contentment, I have no car. I have a bicycle. Should I want to have a car?
True. You should have.
You could.
Because the Bible also gives us, say, let your desires be known unto God. So if I have no shoes, in the moment, I'm going to ask God to help me find the shoes, because I, for one, I came from where I had no shoes. We had no shoes when we were growing up. But there was always like, God help me to find shoes. And how do I go to get shoes? We did small jobs, just kind of get money to buy the shoes. But the covetousness is where it drives me. It gives me the driven. I need these shoes, and I must have. And I've seen another person with the shoes that fits into my feet. And I'm only going to wait for that person, not to be seen, and this thing is in my, and I will take it. So I have it. And now what does that mean? I've denied that person the shoes, but I have it, and I feel good about it. But it just drives me to go do more, and actually it drives me to do more and more, and that's to me, that's what covetousness drives you to do.
So the problem comes with a kind of greed,
Yeah.
wanting, as the first part of the lesson says, what is not yours. Now, if you have no shoes and you want a shoe, or let's take a bicycle, but you want a car, that's you're thankful for the bicycle,
Yes.
but having the ambition to have a car is not sinful.
No.
All right? And now let's say you have a car, but you want a bigger car or a nicer car. Is that sinful? Huh?
It may be sin.
It what?
It may be sin.
It may be sinful. Okay, go ahead. Explain.
Yeah. Wanting is not a sin. The sin becomes when, what is the word? Is the crave that leads you to do the wrong thing. The wrong thing includes, by the way, I've seen people who have not stolen, but in their minds they have, because they've not just gotten a chance. I also know people who have not stolen because they are scared of the consequences. You know that. There are people, many, who have not stolen because they are scared of the consequences. There are some people who have not stolen because your house has a big door, they can't easily get into it.
So if they had no consequences, they would have stolen.
They would have, and many of us fall there. And we think we are not covetous. And we think we are not thieves.
Oh, okay. Now, okay. Let's continue with this same text from 1 Timothy. All right? I think it touched a little bit on what you said. The first text of 1 Timothy 6, it continues, for we brought nothing, and here I think it is talking about possessions. All right? Now, now godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out. And having food and clothing, with these we shall be content. Now, but those who desire to be rich, those who desire to be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and harmful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. Then it goes on to say, for the love of money is root of all evil. Now, having food and clothing, with these we shall be content. But those who desire to be rich fall into temptation and snare. No, right away my mind went, look, Solomon, look, David, look, Nicodemus. Were these men necessarily sinful because they were wealthy? Now, Paul is saying here, food and clothes, be content. When you want to get rich, watch yourself. Am I understanding that correctly, or you need to help me
I
understand?
have a
break it down?
problem with that language. Well, English is
The language of me or of the text?
what you've read,
What I said
what you read.
or what I read, the text?
Yeah.
The text.
The problem is those who desire to be rich is as if desire. I find that a weak terminology, because if it is desire, then and desiring to be rich is a sin in itself. I find that uncomfortable. But language, I don't.
Is that what Paul is saying here? But those who desire to be rich.
So
For-
far, I'm uncomfortable with that part.
Okay.
If I desire to be rich, that's a sin.
Is that what
it
Paul is saying
implies.
here, brethren? Do you have a mic? Give her a mic. And speak as loudly as you can.
I think when the desire goes overboard, then it's wrong. But because all of us should have ambition to get better. It doesn't matter if it's a school or what you are doing. If you are running business, sure, you want to do better than you did yesterday. But when the desire has come to your head and all you think of is money, and then I think that's when it's wrong. But we have to desire to do better, to go to school.
Then you're pierced through, as it says, you're pierced your temptations and snares, and into many foolish and harmful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. So the lust, foolish lust is a craving and an attitude that consumes you and makes you do wrong. Now, I do not want us to leave here believing that a desire to be wealthy is sinful. It is not. Because as I told you, my brain immediately found several rich men in the Bible who were good men. Of course, they're men and they would sin, they would do wrong, which all of us do. But in itself, wealth is not evil, because if I tell you how I feel about that, I think that, let's take it here, right here in our own church. If we had more wealthy people in our church, I mean like millionaires. Being a millionaire now is not a big deal. I mean, they have so many of them around. It's not like when we were living in 1960 or so, you know. if we had quite a few millionaires in our church, we wouldn't have the financial problems we have. So, but then, could a person be poor and covetous?
Absolutely.
And could you be wealthy and not covetous?
Yes.
Okay, so the problem is not the wealth or the money, it's the heart. It's the mindset that they're talking about. Love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, which some have strayed from the faith in their greediness and pierce themselves through with many sorrows. So let's understand this. It's the love of money, not money itself. Right? That is the problem. Go ahead, my brother.
Pastor, I like this sentence on Sunday. It says, could covetousness be then wanting something that we shouldn't have and wanting it so badly that our desire for it rather than the Lord becomes the focus of our heart? So he's wanting it more than the desire of the Lord, and it becomes the focus of our heart.
Yeah, that is covetousness. But then, you see, I don't want us to go away judging people. Was, what's her name? Hannah. I mean, this is not money. This is a child. She wanted a child, right? And was she consumed with that desire? And she looked around and everybody else had a child. And she didn't. And she was consumed with that desire. And she went to the temple and she prayed and she wept and she cried before God for a child. Was she wrong? This is something that she got consumed. Could you become consumed in something that you pour yourself out to God for that thing?
Teacher again, adjectives sometimes are tricky to me. Was Hannah consumed? Yes. And was she consumed in a negative way? I don't think so. If she did, she would have gone to the witch at Endor. She could have stolen somebody's child. So that's why I'm saying consumed, sometimes that is also, is not strong enough for me. You see what I mean?
I don't know what. So to me, I think the direction that you take your desires, even however strong they are. You look at Anna, she was consumed because she went to God.
In a positive.
And she wept and she cried because she knew who would say no, or who would say wait, or he will come through for her. And so she waited upon him, she cried. She did not know when that would be, but she knew this thing of having a baby was really consuming her. And upon that, God came through for her.
Okay.
So she could have, or like my brother said, she could have done differently. Like, we've tried prayer, it's not working. All right, so somebody says, okay, let's go check on this, and we can see where, was that Jacob, or where they, I think Abraham or something, that couldn't wait when he was told, you'll come through, you'll be the father of nations. And listen to the wife, like, well, you can take my house girl and let's get this child because we are past 3 o'clock. So you see, the desires now, we're directing it in a different direction. But if we placed it on God, let your desires be known unto God, he will come through. And so he corrects our paths from that desire of urging, of wanting to go in a different direction.
Okay, let us shift it Let us shift it. We're talking, you raise a person about being consumed.
Yeah, rather than the Lord. That is the important one. So the desire should not exceed the will of God. Meaning Anna discussed and prayed to God. So she did not go outside of God. It was
Right.
all within.
Okay. But she had a very strong desire. Now let us come to today. A house. You want a house, right? You maybe you're renting, or you're living in a situation that you don't like. It's uncomfortable, and you desire a house. And to get that house, you went and you got 3 jobs. Okay, not 2, 3, and you denied your family vacations. You birthday parties, no, maybe just a little gift or a card or something. And you consumed with the passion of getting this house. You mark out your life in such a way that you deny yourself certain things. And you talk to your brothers about the house. You talk to your parents about the house. You're talking to everybody. You want to get a house, and it's your passion to get a house for yourself and your wife and your kids, and you're working really hard to that goal, and you're praying to God to open up the doors for you to get that. Should I condemn you for being so consumed about getting a house?
Yes and no.
You sounded like a politician.
No, I'm not a politician.
Yes and no.
I'm
Which one is it?
I'm just defining covetousness.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yes, no, because it's not a bad idea to desire to live better and work hard for it. Yes, because maybe not necessarily vacation. You may miss many vacations, and then later on go to the normal when things get well. My point is, where it is yes, is because you may easily neglect your family, neglect your children, don't pray with them, don't worship with them, don't help children in developing their personality and their Christian life.
No, if he says he's doing this,
what I'm saying is, you do this at the expense. Let me tell you, I'm doing it for a few years. A few years for kids is so much, especially in developing, when they're developing. 4 years is high school, a whole high school. Another 4 years, a whole college. So when you deny your family, especially the time, you are not taking care of them. You only take care of work because you want a big house. I have an issue with that.
no, the scenario wasn't a big house. It was a house. Right? So because the situation where they're living right now is not comfortable, and he's doing it for them. Okay, if that's his argument, should I condemn him or should I not? You had your hand up, Matthew. You had your hand up.
I think he's looking up
Matthew.
something.
You had there.
No, I was actually trying to read the scripture that went along with the first.
Speak up.
I was reading the scripture from the first comment that you were speaking about. I'm thinking more along the line of spiritual covetousness, and what Sister Sheila was saying about envy and jealousy. And I think, to me, I think covetousness or contentment, as you say, it's when you set the bar of what your life should be in comparison to what you see of someone else. And that's why, so when she said the 2 words about the envy and jealousy, I think that's where the covetousness comes from, if that makes sense.
Okay. Envy and jealousy, they are a part of covetousness. Yeah, they are. When you envy somebody. Now, if my brother here We also have to be careful, like with envy and jealousy.
And could I just say one last thing before you do? Because the thing is, I don't have a problem with any of the stuff that you said. I don't like the things that you were giving examples about. I don't have a problem with any of that. But if I was setting it at the bar of what, like if I'm looking at him, he pulls up to church with a Bentley, and I'm just like, oh, look how he looking, and he driving that nice car and stuff. I should have that car. You know, that's, to me, I think that's where covenant.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's take that. My brother here drives up in let's not go to the Lamborghini, but let's just take a Mercedes, a nice white Mercedes. He drives up to church, or a black one. Black Mercedes.
That's like white.
In America, it has to be black.
Okay, he drives up in a nice black Mercedes.
Yeah.
And I come and say, my brother, man, I love your car. It's beautiful. Man, I like it. I think I'll get one like that. I like it. It's real cool. You know, I'm not hating on him. I'm not angry with him. I'm admiring him. And maybe I aspire to be like him. Right? Am I covetous?
Nope.
I
Not
don't thi-
necessarily.
Yeah, I think we should celebrate others, even when they are succeeding. We should celebrate. We should, saying,
So we celebrate his
yeah,
blessing.
His blessings, but does not mean that I should covet that, that desire, that drive, that I feel, and the feeling, and you start thinking about it, and it's like you start, feeling bad about, like, why would I not be able to do that? And now you say that, like, you look for the 3 jobs, because that's driven.
Go to a casino.
You're being driven to get money to get this house. And I think if we look back on the lesson that we've been learning about, managing, being good stewards, if you had been planning on the little that you have, you'll find that every area of your life, which includes your family, it includes your time to study your word, and being content with what you have, and also bringing every area of your life to God, so that if it is so that you may be able to move from the house, perhaps it's not enough for the family right now, but you'll find that God will work in a way that it's possible. But you don't have to be driven to where now you're excluding the areas that we've been learning, dealing with debt, because now you're being driven. You might want to have more money, but working too many jobs might not necessarily bring the money to get a new house. But so you'll find that there are so many things you're sacrificing just
okay.
for that thing to drive you.
You see, what might be a sacrifice for one brother might not be a sacrifice for another brother too. And we also look at, I see your hand, we also look at this what God says in that we should be, how do you look at we should be the head and not the tail, we should be the lender, not the borrower? How do we look at those and how God blessed Israel, when they were walking in his will? And look at God, look at the temple, Solomon's temple. It was a wonder of the world. It was beautiful beyond description. So we have to balance these things. We want to be the head and not the tail. So does that mean that if I'm driving around in a 1970 Volkswagen, that I should be content and not want a 2010 or 2015 Mercedes? I should just be content with my little Volkswagen, and then the brother who doesn't go to church, who doesn't care about God, who maybe curses God, he's driving around in a Lamborghini or something, and he looks at me in my old Volkswagen, and what concept does he have of you Christians? So we have to be able to balance ourselves. And I want you to leave here understanding there is nothing wrong with desiring to have wealth. There's nothing sinful about that. Because if it was sinful, we have to rip half the Bible out. Because there were many wealthy, very wealthy people in the Bible. You had your hand up.
There's two, when I listen to you, I think there's two phases. I want to point out desire and inspired, right?
Okay.
Someone can come in someone's house and see this beautiful home, and they can desire that, right? Is there anything wrong to desire what they have? No. And also, they can be inspired because it would make them say, man, if they can do it, man, I know I can do it. Because the desire has already been there. You know, sometimes God will put a desire in your heart, and He'll take you some places, right, and put your eyes on a thing and set it like, man, I know, Father, you know, that you're a God of wealth. And there's nothing wrong, like you say, of having wealth. It's just the love of it. You know, all I think about every waking moment is money, 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 money. You have people like that. But God owns everything. That's why He said a cattle on 1,000 hills is mine. But He also said, seek ye the kingdom first, and all these things shall be given unto you. So I can have that house, I can have that car, I can have that education, I can have that wealth, I can have all those things. But what am I doing with the things that God has given me? Am I sowing it in the kingdom of God? Or is it used for my selfish glory and my purpose, right? God looks at the heart. And that's why so many people probably would never be able to have those things, because He knew if He give it to them, their hearts wouldn't be on the kingdom, right? It would be in His world. And they would lose their life for all eternity. So He already knows who that He will open up doors for and who He wouldn't open doors for. Because at the end, God knows everyone. And I remember a testimony where I asked God for something. I was praying for something, and I really wanted that. And His word came back to me. It was so powerful. He said, seek the kingdom first, right? So He wanted me to seek Him out first. I'll come through for you, but I need you to seek me. I want you to know who I am as God. I want you to know who I am as your Father. I want you to understand that I have no problem giving my children the blessings, because that's my purpose of time coming to the world, that you may have wealth and have prosperity. All these things God wants us to have, but I want to know, is your heart in the right place? So I think that's what we need to deal with, the desire and the inspired, both of those things that you can touch on if you want to.
Now, your contribution comes right into the third point here in the lesson. Third question, directly into it. What is the difference between a legitimate desire for something and covetousness? What is the difference between a legitimate desire for something and covetousness? When might a legitimate desire for something turn into covetousness? That's a question here in the lesson. What is the difference between a legitimate desire for something and covetousness? Let's go back to the black Mercedes. All right? Now, I see my brother the black Mercedes. I like the car. It looks good. And I think I want one like that. That's a desire. All right? Nothing is wrong with having a desire to have something like my brother has. I don't want his. I'm praising God for him. Right? I even telling him, I'm so happy for you. And I love your car. It's beautiful. And he feels happy. He feels proud of the car that he has, because here one of his friends is praising his car. Now, I want one like him. Right? Maybe he has the black, I might want a white. I don't know. But now, how could that desire for a Mercedes turn into covetousness? How would that happen? Or how could that happen? That's the question. How could a legitimate desire turn into covetousness?
I look at it from this point of view. When now you deny your family, you deny yourself, I know people who have those big houses and those big cars, and sometimes there's no food at home. I've seen that. I've seen cases where there are people who have that car and that Mercedes because Pastor B has it and he has a good credit. Your credit is not good. Now you are paying twice what he pays a month, and you think you're cool. And this puts you into trouble because you want to be like. All because if that qualifies you to be like or as others, then you are comfortable. I look at this as allow me to call it sin, because you are living beyond your means. It will end up making you cheat, end up making you worsen your credit, you can end you up in you can end up even in what is the word, bankruptcy, because your desire, your good desire for that nice car has made you make wrong decisions that are now leading you to other things, including you might even steal.
So that point that you just made there, the desire for that thing makes you make wrong decisions.
Yeah.
I think that's the key. Where your desire for whatever it is leads you to make wrong decisions. I think that's where it's crossing over from desire to covetousness. All right? Now, if you have a desire for that thing, but you're going to achieve it by making right decisions, great.
Let's go a little deeper. Let's go deeper where the world is concerned. When Satan came to God, right, he said, look over the whole world. If you bow to me, I'll give you all these things. Jesus refused the offer. But what he did is he came right to mankind, and we accept the offer. Because when you look at the celebrities and look at these people that's out here that now devil worshipers, and they bold to say it and they living that life, when you see rappers and all our youth want to be like the world because they flashy. You know, they have the big houses, and they showing it off, the houses and the watches and the wealth and the chain, the money, the cars. They showing all our youth this. And what do our youth want? They want to be a professional NBA player. They want to be a rap. They want to be all these things that they haven't been called to be. Why? Because they coveting what others have. And that's where the sin comes in. Because they probably would never achieve those things, but they covet it to such a point where that's all they think about. I'm going to be a rapper. I'm going to be like them. And this is what the devil has shown the world. See, you can have all these things, but if you bow down to me, and this is the part where covetousness come in, even in the church and outside of the church, right? So those things is real. If we want to go deeper with that,
What I want to more or less focus. I agree with your point, but what I want to more focus on is us in the church.
Yep. And
Who?
the world is coming to the church.
Yeah, I know, but some of us feel secure because we're in the church, and but I still have a little envy because he has his black Mercedes. I have a little envy to him.
The dislike starts. And covetousness doesn't necessarily mean you want what the person have. You probably can start dislike the person because the person has something that you want. So it's not necessarily you want to have the same car as him or the same house, but then your attitude towards that person changes. You start to dislike the person. You start to turn against them.
Yes.
And I think that is what we have to be aware of as well.
Our attitude, that's an important component of covetousness, greed, and the attitude towards those who have. But I want us to understand that having and desiring to have is not wrong. Is the decisions we make in order to have, are they right or are they wrong? That's crucial. So we can, okay, another component is when you have, what do you do? You have wealth. What do you do with your wealth? Is your wealth a blessing to mankind and to God's people? Or is it a way of showing off what you have and being selfish with what you have?
Excuse me, teacher. And that brings up this which has been going on in my head. Your beautiful Mercedes, your beautiful home. We are learning about stewardship this quarter. Is it good stewardship that we choose to have very expensive things because we can afford them?
Well,
Is that good stewardship?
you said
Just
the
because,
last
I
part,
can afford it, must I have it?
the last part is the affording it.
Pardon?
The last part of your statement is affording it, because you can afford it.
Yeah.
Now, how could I answer that? Let's say you're a multi-millionaire, okay? God has blessed you, you're a multi-millionaire. And you want this car. $100 to a multi-millionaire is like a dime to a person who doesn't have that kind of wealth. So the point about affording it is important. Can I afford to buy that car? And in order for me to buy that car, I have to make certain decisions. I have to neglect certain things in my family. I have to neglect certain things, maybe even in my church, in order to get that car that I want. That's covetousness. Now, I have hundreds of thousands of dollars. I got millions of dollars. And I just bought 3 cars for some church members who didn't have a car. Right? I just bought cars for them. And I see this car and I want it, and that's no big deal for me. So I go buy a Mercedes and it's like, it's different because I have the money to do it. While there's this guy who has to make bad decisions.
So
order to buy that car.
if I'm very rich, it's okay for me to buy my Lamborghinis. That is okay. That's still good stewardship. Because I give, I can own a multi-million house. I can buy
I'm
my
not saying
Lamborghini.
because
that.
you give. I'm looking at the first sentence you made, afford.
Yeah, but I'm adding on it, give, because there's this comfort that I give to the church, I give to a poor, so I can just buy these expensive things because I've done my part.
So you're bringing that into the equation.
Yeah, I'm just bringing. Is it good stewardship?
I am still holding on to that part that says afford. You can afford.
He can afford it.
Right? And if you can't afford,
Should we buy it because we can afford it?
I mean, why should I stop you from buying something if you can afford it?
Right.
Why should I judge you for buying
There are so
something?
many things that I can afford, but I don't need them. That's
Okay.
where I'm going to.
Okay, you don't
that
need them. You
defeats the
make that
point.
decision.
But is that good stewardship?
Well, your decision. You're being able to afford. You see, I don't want us to go around
Yeah.
judging people because I see you roll up. I mean, I know you're a multi-millionaire. I know that. I mean, everyone
Time
knows
is
that.
up.
And you drive up here in a beautiful vehicle. What should I judge you? I don't think it's in my place to judge you because you did that. So what I want to leave here this morning is that let's be careful how we judge each other, all right? And secondly, desiring wealth is not wrong. It's how you acquire the wealth. Some people have acquired their wealth very, very